I think so.
Just give me a thumbs up.
1 minute. Damn it. I have a seat right over there. I thought you were zooming in. You're good.
I'd like to call the August 12th, 2021 Planning Board meeting to order, please. Ms. Tanya, have you done a roll call?
Yes.
All right, so that brings us on over to approval of Planning Board minutes. Everybody had an opportunity to take a look at them?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Ms. Tanya, that brings us public comments. What do we have?
So we can take public comments in general as long as they're not related to an agenda item. We'll have specific public hearings for agenda items.
Fair enough. So that brings us to board commissioner responses. Ms. Tanya?
Well, was there anybody here to speak not related to any agenda items? Okay, so you don't have anything to respond to.
All right, that brings us to new business. Item 1 is public hearing. I guess we're gonna call it Nickel Solar Farm. Item 8, what do you have, Ms. Tanya?
We'll have to do these. I don't know which one they actually want to speak on.
All
I
right,
know Tony's for the mobile part, but
gotcha.
we'll ask where they want to speak because we're doing nickel right now.
All right. Mr. Nick Kirkland. All right, hold on. John Barefoot. Same thing. Carson Harkrader. All right, well, let's move it on really quickly. Lewis,
I am.
fair enough. Are you on for this one?
Yes.
All right, let's hear what you got to say, sir.
Okay. I am Lewis. I'm a developer of Strata Solar. I've been with Strata for 8 years. Strata Solar, we're one of the top 5 to 10 developers in the United States, depending on the year. Developed the 200 project about this side, 3 megawatts, up to 200 megawatts. Our headquarters is less than an hour away, down the street in downtown Durham. We have 400 professional staff in there right now, as long as we're at home, but we have 400 professional staff there. We have a maintenance facility in Chapel Hill that would maintain this project. We develop projects, which is what we're doing right now. We develop, we design and build, do all the engineering in-house. Then we own and operate and maintain projects. And we operate over 3,000 megawatts of solar energy in the United States, primarily in North Carolina and Virginia. From our office. We have to anybody to visit the I assume you're all familiar with solar. Certain free asking questions like that, professional engineers here, Chris Ledbetter and Eric Engelhardt have any questions. I'll try to answer. So this project is called Nickel. See this? It's out on Highway 49 near Pleasant Road. This parcel is about 57 acres. Inside our fence is about 18 acres, so less than a third of the property. Really nice palms that will name. You ride out there, you would see 25-foot tall flower growing pines and hardwoods, very thick buffer. We don't have it shown, but I would suggest a condition for a 50-foot. We'll probably reduce everything here. That's the condition. 50 feet across the separate but it's 500 feet behind the road, so there's woods here, so very concealed, one of the most isolated bodies I work on. So 65% open space approximately, which to me is pretty high. I think the closest home I measured was 800 feet over here. So 800 and then 1,000 feet, at least anything else. And as I said, it's extremely well covered. Just briefly about solar farms, they're clean, they're safe, there's no noise, there's no emissions. This size, we have maybe one truck a month cutting over grass at construction, so virtually no that. There's no hazardous materials. Staff has reviewed this project multiple times. It complies with the new ordinance. And we made multiple revisions to the plan based on their comments. We provided a decommissioning estimate and a decommissioning bond for the full cost. That is without any reduction for self. And this is the zoning permit. There will be multiple construction permits for state of construction environmental permits. So heavily regulated. And that's about all I have to say. It's a pretty straightforward project. It's very well concealed and managed to cause anybody. We're happy to answer any questions. How does it affect the wildlife? With 18 acres on a 57, I think they'll find their way around it. Honestly, I don't think we're well away from the ponds. There's plenty of room on our site all the way around it. So pretty small. I think that I know where I'm adding those birds. Well, bird? Yes, sir. They don't fly. They fly over. Yes, ma'am.
My house is out there in land on John Lewis Road. That's across the top there. So I think I read that
It's a different project.
that's a different project.
Sorry.
So, to his question, are you guys gonna allow any hunting on this 57-acre property?
We typically do not. I mean, is that something you would prefer to see?
Well, I really don't have an opinion about it. I'm at the other end of the county. But where my mind's going with this is if you've got a 57-acre sanctuary out here in the middle of this northern end of the county, then that could be good for quail or whatever. They'd have a place where the other hawks, foxes, and whatnot. Right, they wouldn't be hunted.
I don't know if you could pull up an aerial. Can you pull up an aerial for the area? It is very remote. Well, there's some subdivisions, but if you zoom out, the areas on either side, really all around it, are almost nothing. I didn't build 200 houses out there, so we did 200 people. Time you can pull it up, you can answer that question and take for you. That we will address is 4945.
Yeah, I think north. Let's see, 49.
That's in your way, but that's in mine.
4945.
Oh, let's put the wrong one. Let's try parcel number.
166,934, the aerial.
So to do the aerials, we do have to zoom in a little bit. That may mess us up, but. See what happens, it'd be quite a bit to get to aerials.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Why don't you just do it on Google Maps? Just ask the gentleman's question. 49, 45.
Well, I think you've answered it, after there's not gonna be a hunting there.
There's just very, I love to see it.
Yeah. I think that's right. I don't think that's right. Burlington, not that. All right. Yeah, I'm kind of hidden down there.
Here we go.
I'm sure it's north. Yeah, north is 49.
That's, that looks like the Vincent property.
Oh, maybe down here.
The Burke property.
You're on
It's
opposite
up
side.
past there, it's up past Vincent.
Okay, so now we're just sitting on the air.
Yeah,
And so our project is
right there.
right about there. There's not much around it. As I said, I scaled the nearest one, 800 feet. Right up there. Way up here. Well, I believe our property is
Yeah, it got crosses the
part
road.
of our property, across, right straight across the road, so. Heading trees.
Sir, about how many houses will your solar farm, how many houses will it serve?
3 megawatts, so you used to say 750 for 5, so 3/5 of that would be 450.
Surprised I can still do math that quick in my head.
See here.
That's 3 questions. Let's see. Map that I'm looking at here, this map that you proposed, came through on tax road, and it looks like we have setback requirement, right? We need 75.
Mhm.
And it says, it's got 2, we've got the limits of lease and then the limits of property. So I'm assuming that the fencing and then the actual project starts within 75 of that northeast corner. Northeast corner.
Over
That
there.
looks about the closest one up there.
Oh, right, absolutely.
Okay, so we got 75. The other thing I noticed was soil path. Not a rock. It says soil path for first responder access. I don't know, is that typical, I mean, for first responders, don't they like to have, some rock or at least some driveway that won't get stuck in?
Right, fire marshal's already reviewed it and they have the specs on what he needs to make sure that he can travel.
Okay.
That's why he's got different roads coming
Guys know
through
that?
so that they can fight fire if they need to.
Speak to that. All right, and then the other question I had was, it says no lighting proposed for this site. And I know our ordinance says should, but I'm sure that would be by the.
It's telling us that we should have a lighting plan, should they put lighting in, but with no lighting, we didn't need a lighting plan for this one.
Sure. Professional engineer Chris Blanco.
Oh,
has
so
the
you
answer.
wanted
to,
speak to the first responders access, because I saw the comments come through, and we wanted to leave space for emergency vehicles to get through. We wanted to see if that sufficed what fire marshal wanted.
If you reviewed it, you found
Yep.
it, that's fine.
Any other questions?
That's what everybody, question you asked. Any more questions? You asking us to?
Everybody in the room?
I'll leave that up to
Yeah.
the chairman.
I do. No, I don't belong.
you have any questions, sir?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you had stored batteries or held directly into the power plant.
This one
You
does,
selling power to do power,
Yes,
yeah, no batteries proposed on this one.
no batteries,
Correct.
it just goes directly into.
Yep.
Substation.
Yeah, this one being this size, 3 megawatts, it's at the voltage where we interconnect directly into the grid, the distribution line that runs right across the road frontage. So yeah, we just have a typical, our site produces the power, we run it to our inverters, step it up to AC power, and then we have a pole lineup that converts all that power, and then we actually connect to Duke's poles. So via overhead wooden poles that connect into the distribution line.
the
Into the
same
grid.
power this power will get used in the immediate area.
Correct.
Because
It's
it's at the.
That's exactly what that. That's exactly what worked out.
That would be great.
That would be great. That's not up to us.
Trying to do what we can to help that along.
It is cheap power though.
Sure is. All right. Any other questions from board members?
Anyone else? Ms. Tanya? So we need to handle these individually.
What's that?
Where the panels made.
We haven't nailed down the exact manufacturer. We have a procurement team that kind of handles that part once we get to the design and the construction of the farm. I believe we have options that they come from the US. Yes. Was that? I'm sorry.
Current administration wants to see if they can get some made here.
That's right. Yeah, we are well aware of that. Our procurement team is, yeah, they're well aware of all the memos that have come out. Yep, we're facing a challenge just like all the other solar EPCs.
You China, you China,
Yep.
cell phone. Outside.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody for your time. Yeah, we're happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Is there any discussion amongst board members? Okay, well, I guess we'll need a suggestion.
Motion to recommend this to county commission for approval.
So, okay, before you make that motion, this is not your time to finish approval, it's done right here at planning board, this is the final decision making board. So if you can modify your motion.
Yes, and make a motion to approve this development.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Everyone, all those in favor?
So we need to get with the ones on Zoom
Anyone
too.
opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Taylor, is anybody responding on Zoom? I've shrunk myself really, really small.
No, not yet. So we have Jean.
Oh,
Jean, can you confirm your vote in the chat? A yes from Jean. And he's the only one we have on virtual, right? As the only board member.
Okay.
Tanya Taylor, I'm here. This is Sandy.
And Danielle Walker's on there? Is that her? No. Okay. All right, so did everybody vote in?
This is,
Yes.
can you hear me, Tanya? This is Sandy.
All right, motion passed. Y'all are good. We'll issue your intent to construct permit tomorrow. And then once you get it constructed before you can operate, we need to come out and do another site visit and give you the operation permit then.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, board.
All right, that brings us to Article B, Quaker Creek Solar Farm, Dickey Mill Road. Mr. Nick Kirkland.
Can I go first?
Thank you. We've got 3 of you folks signed up. I'm assuming all 3 of you from the same firm.
Yes.
Okay. Then my question is, are you gonna take care of everything or we gonna?
They're gonna speak briefly, if that's okay with the board. If you'd rather us wrap up more quickly, that's okay.
You go right ahead. We'll listen to them too as well. How about that?
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carson Harkrader. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right, great. So I'm the CEO and owner of Carolina Solar Energy. We're a solar energy company based in Durham, but I live in Hillsborough, so I'm very close by. Our company has been around since 2004. My father started the company and I took over ownership from him 3 years ago. We develop these types of utility scale solar projects in North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, and Louisiana. And we developed 45 solar projects that are now in operation in North Carolina. And we've actually done a lot of projects with Strata Solar, the company that was just here before. This Quaker Creek project here in Alamance County, it's a 35 megawatt project. So it's going to be the largest project here in Alamance County so far. But for us, compared to projects that we're developing in other states like Virginia and Kentucky, this is actually now a very small project. We started working on this project 3.5 years ago, and we reached out to Mrs. Blanchard, who owns the property there on Dickey Mill Road, and started talking to her based on the power lines that run through the site. We thought they would be a good place for a new solar farm. Mrs. Blanchard agreed to sign a lease with us, and that was the beginning of this project. We've taken a number of steps in those years in terms of the development of the project. We applied to the Duke Energy Carolinas transmission queue. All the renewable electricity from this project will go into that transmission line and will likely be sold to a company or municipality in North Carolina that has a specific goal to purchase renewable energy. And they will purchase that from Duke Energy. We will sell to Duke Energy and then they will purchase it from Duke Energy. We are in the process of seeking approval for a certificate of public convenience and necessity from the North Carolina Utilities Commission. We have completed environmental reviews, wetlands reviews, archaeology reviews, title to all the properties. We're in the process of a boundary and Alta survey. And this project will be reviewed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers before construction to ensure that all the waterway, that we are within all the required regulations for the waterways, as well as Department of Environmental Quality. One of the things my company is very focused on is engaging with the neighbors of our projects. And a few months ago, we held a virtual dinner. This was during a peak time for COVID. So we sent a letter to all the adjacent neighbors. We gave them a little coupon to go to Dickie Do's and pick up some barbecue for the family. People were able to do that and then log on to our Zoom meeting where we presented information about the project. And after that meeting, we had some questions and comments from neighbors and we engaged with them. Chris Jones has been with Carolina Solar Energy for a long time, went out and talked to a number of the neighbors in person. And that's just a typical part of the project development that we do to make sure that people know about the project. I believe it was after that meeting, though, that we added one new parcel. And so there are maybe a couple new neighbors on John Lewis Road who just would have received the notice of this application and didn't actually get invited to that dinner. That's the reason for that. One thing I want to let you guys know about that Strata did not mention is property taxes. I know you all are the planning board and not the Board of Commissioners, but solar projects in North Carolina pay really, really significant amounts of property taxes. Typically, when a rural piece of land goes into solar, it starts paying 2,000% more property taxes than it did before it was in solar. So, for example, the parcels that are in this project, and the portions of those parcels are currently paying, well, in 2008, paid $3,461 to the county, to Alamance County, just from losing the agricultural tax discount they will pay in the first year of the solar project almost $60,000 in annual property taxes from losing the agricultural exemption. So that'll be a major increase. And then in addition to that, there will be personal property taxes due on all the equipment. And we expect that over 30 years to be over $800,000 that the county will make in new taxes, incremental over and above what they would have received without the solar project. And so most counties that have a lot of solar put that into the schools. Well, that's just, most of the money in the county, a lot of money in the county goes to that. So that's a benefit. And then finally, for this quick presentation, I want to thank the planning staff. They worked with us really long and hard to ensure our application met all the requirements. And been working them for a long time throughout the ordinance and the HIDO and all of that. So we really appreciate them helping make sure we were ready to present to you all. And that is all I have. I'm available for questions, but I'm also going to have a civil engineer present to you all and our real estate property values person who talks about how this project impacts the community. So do you all want to hear from them or do you want to ask me questions?
Let's hear from them and then we can kind of sort of each the three
Absolutely.
questions.
I'm happy to come back after they speak and answer any questions you have.
Awesome.
While they're getting ready for it, just to let you know, the southwest corner of this project actually is in Green Levels jurisdiction. So I think, Carson, is it 10 acres? It's a small.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a little more than that, but
Okay.
it's not, it's southwestern corner. Yeah, I think I'll slide to them and we'll get there next time.
So it takes both jurisdictions to actually pull this off. Once we give approval, if Green Level doesn't give approval for some reason, it probably will change the process.
Excuse me.
John Barefoot.
Mr. Barefoot, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good evening, board. So I'm a licensed professional engineer in North Carolina. I work at Kimley Horn in downtown Raleigh. I have been a part of this plan. My colleague Corey Howe is a licensed professional engineer as well and signed and sealed the plan that you have in front of you tonight. This plan has been designed in accordance with the Alamance Solar Energy Ordinance and without deviation. This project is, this is one part of a permitting review, but there is many more steps to come. In addition to this one, as Carson mentioned, there's the CPCN process where there's a multitude of state agencies and federal agencies that review the project for archaeological and historical cultural resources, fish and wildlife, and they provide their comments as a part of that process. In addition to that, as the project moves forward and advances, any connections to state highways will require permits from NCDOT with site distance triangles and meeting their requirements for the access points of the site. For erosion and sediment control of the project during construction, that'll likely consist of sediment basins and diversions around the perimeter of the site to protect adjacent properties from sedimentation. And the North Carolina Erosion and Sediment Control Manual will be the guidance document for that, and NCDQ will review the project to make sure it is in compliance with their standards by law. In addition, for any crossings that are proposed, as Carson mentioned, over any of the jurisdictional tributaries that you can see, those crossings will be designed with the appropriate culverts, and Army Corps of Engineers and NCDQ will be reviewing those crossing impacts. The county will also be reviewing stormwater. Their requirements have to meet or exceed the NCDQ requirements for stormwater. And so as a part of the further design process, they'll be reviewing that, and the North Carolina Stormwater Manual will be the guide document there for those regulations related to stormwater. I have a lot of experience in North Carolina with solar development and design, developed from the, mountain regions all the way down to the coastal plain, developed projects in all states in the Southeast and across the country, and gigawatts of projects. And looking at this plan that you see in front of you, in my professional judgment, I have no hesitations or red flags about this project and how it's sited. Happy to be here tonight and answer any questions you have related to site civil, hydrology, erosion control. Happy to answer any questions you have.
How many acres of farmland are they taking in? I'm talking about the forest part.
The agricultural land.
Just cropland.
I don't know that we've delineated that. The project area in whole is about 437 acres. Looking at the aerials versus the forested areas, I would say it's probably a 50-50 mix somewhere in there. So you're probably looking at, I don't know, 200 acres.
And that's the project as a whole, 3 or 4 just separate tracts of land, correct?
Yeah, I think there's 4 separate parcels of land.
Okay, well, I'm gonna jump in right now because the Blanchard property on Dickey Mill Road, me, myself, I have been on that property off and on since I was 5 years old. It is a good sized tract of land and it is a beautiful tract of land. As far as cropland, it's nice. But at the same time, I've been all over that place, all over, even the fields that's groved up that you can't even hardly walk through now, I've been on them too. So it is a good sized tract of land, okay? But I guess with the way things are going now, the options are solar or houses.
Well, some of that land getting in.
It's, Robert Saunders is raising it in tobacco and corn and a little bit of soybeans. I ride by there about every day.
Yeah.
And
Compared
the
to
other track, the Iron Wheel track used to belong to a guy by the name of Bill Hopkins. An Iron Wheel Veterinary Clinic, whatever, they bought it. And it's a good sized tract of land too. And from what I can remember about that, it's probably 60 to 70% over. But once again, there are no major players in that part of the county. There is no major ag players in that part of the county anymore. Part of it comes up beside Warren property. They were the last major farmers in that community. And Larry died year before last, and Larry's widow and Woody sold everything January last year. And Bobby or Robert's traveling, God, 15 plus miles from his home farm to get there.
How many acres is that property?
He's tending the entire Blanchard farm. If it's a field, it's got a crop in it. But I do know on the backside, over on the Hester Road side, there was a field over there. It was probably 40 acres in that field, and it ain't doing nothing but raising hard. I mean, you won't plant nothing in it. I mean, it's done growed up. And then on the backside, where Kirby's Mobile Home Park joins that over there, there's a field over there. It's probably another 15, 20 acres. It's growed up too. Because it used to be cleared from Hester Road, slap through Dickey Mill Road.
Love to say, so good points there. Compared to like a subdivision or something of that nature, it's a very passive use, no odor, no traffic generation. It has the majority of the site is able to use existing buffers around the edges with some small planted buffers to mitigate areas where there is visibility. Very low traffic generation, no water or sewer service required from the county. And the good thing about solar is, you can build this facility once the term of the lease is over. You can decommission the site if the landowner, so chooses, and you can return the site to farming after that time, if so desired.
How do y'all control the vegetation? 430 acres.
Yeah. Great question. So typically there's an O&M team in addition to the vegetation management. They'll be, monitoring these facilities remotely, and they'll also come out, and if there's anything that needs servicing, they'll do that. But it's usually once or twice a month. There's a visit, but they'll hire usually makes sense to hire a local landscape contractor or somebody who does maintenance, but they'll cut the grass. They usually let it get around 12 inches, but then it will be mowed so it doesn't grow higher than the drip line of the panels.
The road makes pretty close to the water, ground board, and the lakes, Quaker Creek. If that thing floods out and gets on the water, how bad it will affect the city water?
So the panels and the infrastructure is really not harmful to health and public safety. Some of the panels are actually tested, submerged. Typically, there's hydrology studies done to model a scenario of a flood event. And the sensitive electrical equipment like the inverters or combiner boxes on the end of the roads, those are set at appropriate heights so they're not impacted by a flood event.
Best I can remember, like I said, I've been on that place a lot. If those solar panels come underwater, the biggest thing everybody's gonna need is Bible and a boat. I ain't, I'm just telling you what I know. I've been there. I've seen it. I mean, the creeks and everything I've been, it's not much of that place I have been. Is everybody good?
I don't see anything wrong here about sediment control or anything. This.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, typically at this level, we'll show a layout. Once they select an exact technology and lay out the site, we'll design that around the perimeter as a set of construction documents that'll be submitted to the county and those other agencies I mentioned. Not showing that right now, but it will typically be around the fringe of the facility to capture anything, store that and attenuate that water and release it over time with a skimmer device to clarify it.
There's a question over here. We've got one piece of paper that talks about an airport within this 5 nautical mile radius. Is that
There
Yeah.
used to be a dirt field or a small building field that we found out after we submitted the application, we found out it wasn't making use anymore. It actually stopped using it.
And the name of it was what now?
it says bully field on this?
Where was it located?
North of Lincoln.
North of
Yeah.
Lincoln, that would be over there, that'd be over on Prairie Road.
It's just barely, it's almost not in.
It is due west. If it's one over on McCray Road, that would belong to Carl Dixon once upon a time, and it's growing pine trees.
The North Lincoln Plain.
Oh, you can land a plane in there. You just ain't gonna walk away unbroken.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to come back up if you think of anything else.
Mr. Kirkland, your turn.
Hi, my name is Nick Kirkland. I'm a state certified general appraiser. I've been accepted as an expert witness in property value impacts over 6 dozen times. At Kirkland Appraisals, we've looked at over 800 solar farms across the country. The majority of those have been within North Carolina. Solar farms are most commonly located just like this one, where most of the uses are residential or agricultural adjoining it. It's typically located in a rural area, and the subject type is very similar to what we typically see for solar farms. Based on this, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will be a harmonious use in its location. Furthermore, we've done what's called a matched pair or a paired sales analysis. It's a methodology outlined in the Appraisal Institute textbook, Real Estate Damages, written by Dr. Randall Bell. In short, we compare homes that have sold next to existing solar farms to homes that sold nearby that were not next to solar farms in order to measure for any difference. We have 35, it's either 35 or 38 within the impact study that show no impact to the adjoining property values. And based on that information, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will not impact the adjoining property values. I'm happy to go into further detail or answer any more questions or about the methodology or anything like that.
Do you have any, or it was of adverse impact?
There are some that show, basically they range from negative 10% to positive 10%. The vast majority of which are right around 0 to positive 2%. The average and the median is 2% for the average and 1% positive for the median. And that's within typical market friction. We consider that no impact.
Anybody else?
The existing natural wooded area, what is the size of that buffer? Green? All around there?
John would be a better person to answer that.
It will be 30 feet wide, and for that existing buffer that you see in green. And for the yellow, there'll also be a 30-foot wide dedication, but there'll be a double staggered row of evergreen plants there.
The green, what kind of existing, what is there?
I think based on area topography, there's mature vegetation there, a mix of hardwood, pine.
And I was talking about neighboring properties and vegetative buffer. I just wanted to mention, Mr. Bell is our neighbor on site. He lives in the parcel that's there on the road that comes up into the property. And we agreed with him just before the meeting to add additional vegetative buffer, the same design as the yellow, just to the east and west of his side. So just running up and down those property lines. So we'll add that for him, and that we can provide a new.
You're talking about that little corner in the bottom right of that.
Sorry, just right here. This is actually a parcel that juts out into the Blanchard property, and so we'll add a vegetative buffer here on this side and here on that other side.
That's technically in green levels, so you don't have any control of that.
Okay.
Well, good idea, but they can't say anything about that.
So these solar panels, they rotate with the sun.
Yes.
How much more efficient are those than your typical solar panels?
That is a very good question. You have really answered that?
30%.
Yeah, they'll start, so in the olden days, 10 years ago or 5 years ago in the solar industry, all the rows would run east to west and then face to the south. So now our rows run north to south, and the panels sit on that rack, and in the morning, they'll face east. They'll track the sun throughout the day so slowly, you can never see it move. And then at the very end of the day, they'll rotate back once and be ready for the morning. We actually use panels now, mostly that are also bifacial, so even the back of the panel, or really there's not very much sun, but it's collecting just a little bit to increase output even more.
One more just curious question. It looks like we've got fencing, obviously the river fencing and all that, but like that fencing all around all wetlands too.
Yeah.
There's some material fencing around that.
Yeah.
Just kind of curious. Looks like you fenced in all of it.
Yeah, sometimes what will happen is those will be then excluded from the fencing to leave, corridors for the wildlife. We just haven't designed that detail yet, but that will often happen, especially if it's a bigger stream.
Anybody else?
What are the historical properties there? There's ones within the solar farm field and the other ones up there too.
There's one over there, right beside Mr. Bell's property. And I spoke to Ms. Harkraker earlier. And that was, since I heard about this project well over a year ago, that me personally, that was one of my major concerns. Because what a lot of people don't realize is President Ulysses S. Grant spent the night in that house. I want to say it was 2 or 3 nights in a row with his federal troops around the barnyard. That did take place. So the protection and preservation of that house was important to me. So when I spoke with her earlier, and she showed me what, was required for our Historic Properties Commission, historic properties ordinance and everything, what they were set aside is more than satisfactory.
Yeah, the site plan shows 100-foot setback around the house, which is the county historic property requirement. But we're actually setting back much further from that, which will encompass all the outbuildings. There's one old barn that's not historic that might come down, but there's an old potential other structure there. They will all be saved, and that was Mrs. Blanchard's request. But it is also a county requirement, and as I mentioned, we're going through the state process, and John mentioned that too. So the State Historic Preservation Office actually, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, sent us a letter saying, please go out. So we went out, we took pictures of all of the building and the outbuildings and showed them exactly what would be disturbed and what would not be disturbed. So that's being regulated both by Alamance County and by the State Historic Preservation Office. And of course, by Mrs. Blanchard, who asked us not to disturb the home. There is another historic property, I think it's north of Hester Road, but it's not on our project side at all.
Sure.
So I didn't know about this, and I'm a fan of solar, so I'm happy. But when would this start and what impact would it have? I mean, my house is up on John Lewis Road, 3 acres of land that goes back, so, it would be not in my backyard, but in my backyard's backyard. And what impact would that have on, the living there while this is going on, and how long that would be? And I know you mentioned the property values, but you'll be able to see it, right, from, all that's pretty open when you're driving up, what is that, Barnett? You will be able to, I don't know how you're gonna hide that.
With the requirements for our renewable energy, solar ordinance, they would have to have a vegetative buffer so far all the way around the project.
And so, yeah, and on Barnett Road, so you can't see it on this because it's not an aerial, but on that area, you can see there's actually a lot of trees.
That's on the white
It's
property.
not on these farms here that are right on the road.
Okay.
There's those homes and those trees, and then there's a bunch of trees there in the back. So I would be really surprised if you see it all from there because
I could flip to that one.
of the area.
Yeah, let me turn it.
I'd be really surprised if you could see it from that road because I guess you can see here.
Slow them getting there.
Okay, great.
Should be over there to the right.
There's trees here. So this is our project line, and then here's the Barnett Road. And then, so there's going to be dense trees through virtually all of it. And then up there on John Lewis Road, the project is set back from the road at John Lewis Road. I don't know how many feet, John.
It's 1,000.
And so there will be an entrance there on John Lewis Road. So I think that would be the main.
And it's further down toward 49.
It's further, yeah, the entrance is exactly how it is on the map. That will, so there will be some trucks, bringing the materials and supplies in. For a project of this size, during like heavy construction period, probably no more than 6 months.
So trees coming down, animals running around.
Yeah, so, as mentioned,
Like he mentioned, they're gonna just go somewhere and, right?
Yeah, I mean, we expect that, the birds are gonna come in and out, the very small animals, are gonna be able to come in and out. It's a chain link fence, and then it's gonna be 7 feet high with barbed wire at the top, so the deer should not be able to get in. But the small, birds and things, as I mentioned, small birds might love it, because they can get in there and be safe from the foxes. But yeah, it's, construction activity during that 6 months. And then, as John mentioned, after the construction period, the government strata, there's really like once a month maintenance, and the maintenance is very low key. It's very quiet.
after the construction is done.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, okay, our concern is that you can't see it. We want buffers around it. We don't. We like it, but we don't want to look at it.
You too, right, exactly.
They're not the prettiest things in the world, no offense. But they serve a purpose. But that's the whole point of having a landscape buffer screening or requiring that, a dense vegetated buffer. They've got natural buffer on a lot of those properties, but where they don't, they have made provision to have additional screening planted to address that problem. So it should be taken care of.
Mhm. All right. Everybody good? Thank you very much. Before we get into this very well, Mr. Bell's here and this solar project is going to encompass his property on 3 or 4 sides. I would like to hear his opinion.
I think they should have made an offer. Couldn't turn back. And our concern, of course, is 2 residences in this property. And it's home to it, feet wide, so it's gonna be, they ain't 800 feet away from the solar farm. Only 250 feet wide, you know, a house on one end and one on the
Yes.
But really, they're gonna put 2 lines of trees and back up the, you have to do what we're talking about, I don't really have any objections.
So you're satisfied?
Yeah.
Good enough for me, sir.
Other than, I'm on $1 million offer.
Well, just what would it be worth to you if we could visit?
Now, wait a minute. Before you get into that too deep, I want to let you in on something. That map she had up there just a little bit ago, I joined them on the west side. So it'd be 2 checks.
Well, you just have to recuse yourself.
You don't have to be recused, that's exactly right.
Not only you gonna have to recuse yourself, you might get up and leave. I'll make sure you couldn't start with I'm down the other end county. I'll have to open this up. Other than what it might be.
Well, I don't either, but I wanted to know from Mr. Bill because I do know he's right there in that project.
But his section is down at grade level, which we don't have to say.
Well,
His,
and
no, his not, his is not, he's on that side.
either way,
The green level part is down on the left corner.
whether he's in Green Level, Alamance
correct?
County, or Saxby, I just want to know what his opinion is. I want to make sure the man's happy.
Just to be sure, his property's not in the green level.
It is in green level ETJ, so they have planning jurisdiction over it.
His is?
You on Dickey Mill? Is that
Yes,
right?
he's on Dickey Mill.
City limits, but it is their.
It's the ETJ. green.
Yes.
In all honesty, with the projects they've got going on down there, and the LGI just built that mega subdivision down there next to the quarry, I don't see Green Level having a whole lot of fit over it. That's just my personal opinion.
Green Level's attorney actually contacted us early in the project to make sure we're all kind of working together. And what they're asking, we're asking is pretty similar, so I think that's pretty much moving forward with that end too.
Okay. Are we good? Well, I mean, we'll talk later.
You know, my thing is, see it, taste the smell.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll make a motion.
second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Can you say Jean?
Jean has responded, and I misspoke earlier. We also have planning board member Sandy Ellington Graves on Zoom. Sandy, if you could voice your vote.
Yes.
She is affirmative as well.
All right, are we good? Congratulations, folks. Good luck with your project.
Thank you all very much. And, construction, I didn't answer that. Probably not until end of 2023, 2024. So it'll be a while.
so Robert can keep raising some tobacco and soybeans and corn over there. All right.
Thank you all.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
We did skip the minutes. I don't know if we have it now or not.
We could, we made a motion second. Oh, okay. Okay, are we good? All right, that brings us to item number 2. A review of Simple Times Mobile Home Park. Well, I'll leave it in.
Mr. Chairman, as Tony comes up for taking this application, I'd like to let everybody know that due to the fact that Tony's my spouse, he has any ties to this application.
Mr. Morris?
You know what, I think we need to wait a second. Sorry, it's too loud for everyone online. Yeah. If you guys don't mind moving on out, that would be so helpful for our audio. I appreciate it.
Me too. I got a lot more years than you have. You do. I think I was the same age as your dad.
And my great grandma, you run the chief. You live out there where St. Chief lives.
He's not with me.
Well, oh, no, he's over in Pleasant Hill.
He's probably some of the good chiefs.
I don't know, I didn't meet many of them.
Oh, I ain't many good.
I know David Chief. He pretty nice. No, the one I knew around here. He grew up in Brandon. But you know, Sonny Chick comes down to the stockyard down in South City. I raised a few goats and I meet him down there. He goes down there every day and helps let him about 90 years old. But y'all have a good day.
Take care, sir.
Lee, if you don't mind repeating, that would be really helpful. If you don't, yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would like to recuse myself from the vote on this application. Due to the fact that Tony is one of my favorite cousins. And I've had that conversation in this application.
Understood, sir. Mr. Morris, how are you?
I'm fine. How are y'all?
Fantastic.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, what you got going on, sir?
All I'm doing is, we did phase 1, 25 campsites, back in 2017, 2018, opened it up in 2019. And at that time, when we did it, we had full intentions of a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, which were all about the same, and it was going to be according to how things went. And they seem to have went fairly well with phase 1. Like I said, in the packet, we pretty much were 90 to 100% full for the first 2 years that we were in it. So all we're doing is pretty much taking phase 1 and duplicating it as phase 2, a little bit different layout. But as far as sizes and that kind of stuff of the campsites, they're all pretty much the same as what they were in the first phase. But we didn't have to go through the mobile home park ordinance in the first phase. So that's where we're at now. Is there's some hardships in there that we can't meet on sizes of lots and some clearances and stuff like that. So that's why we're here to.
Can you explain to them the hardships? Because ordinance, there's what y'all look at as a review. There has to be a proven hardship of the land, not a monetary hardship. And that's state law to allow you to give any kind of recommendation of approval of this. So Tony or Ms. Morris can give you an idea of what accommodations he needs that's different than the ordinance, and then why he has that hardship. That's kind of what y'all are here listening to.
Well, the main thing is in a campground, we all know you go camping with somebody else. You don't want to be a half acre apart from each other when you're camping. You go camp, be close, and to enjoy your time together. With the mobile home ordinance, we had to have 30,000 square feet for each campsite. That's
well over a half an acre for each campsite. So, that part to me is a big reason that we needed to do it this way. But also we did it this way because I did phase one this way, exactly like it. So it is, there's septic field areas to the top right. There's septic field areas to the bottom right. And then you can see the property lines where our setbacks and our buffers are, that encroach also upon us being able to meet that size. I think another one of the things was parking 2 vehicles. Our cleared sections are 30 by 50, 30 by 60. In most cases, there's plenty of room to park 2 vehicles in there. It might just not be 10-foot by 20-foot spots. Plus, we also offer overflow parking. We've got a lot for overflow. If someone's large truck won't fit on, they can park their truck in the overflow parking. Not sure what else.
We spoke to lot size. The minimum frontage on each lot is 100 foot, which with this size, we couldn't meet that. And then setbacks are 45 feet from the center line of their travel way. Or clearway is actually the 50-foot right of way, and travel way is the actual travel surface. So those are not able to be met in this either. And you spoke to the parking. And then the rear and side setbacks are 10 foot each. I don't think, maybe some of the rear setbacks can be met, but side setbacks won't be met.
Ms. Tanya, I want to ask you something. These setback requirements are pretty much the same for a mobile home park, correct?
Well, so mobile home park, a mobile home defined in the mobile home park ordinance includes a manufactured home, a camper, an RV, a tiny home on wheels, anything that comes in on wheels that's not a permanent structure. So that's how he got into the mobile home park ordinance. That was rewritten in the county in about 2015. Prior to that, there were 2 separate ordinances, one for RV park and one for mobile home park. And it actually was in environmental health, it wasn't in planning. So it got rewritten and landed in planning. So we are now mobile home, manufactured home, RV, meaning the same thing, the same ordinance with larger requirements.
You were not with the county in 2015 when that took place, were you?
Oh,
Okay, well, I've had a travel trailer and I've been in quite a few RV parks myself. And to have those type of setbacks in an RV park is a little bit strong. But here we are today, this is what we got. Rob, what you got on mind?
Okay, so on this issue, are we making a recommendation to the county commissioners?
that is correct. This will have to go before county commissioners for final.
Okay, well, first of all, I think we ought to give Mr. Moyes an award for taking on a project in Alamance County with the environment and culture like it is. Now, we all know that a travel trailer park is not going to employ 10,000 people, and it's not going to generate millions of dollars worth of tax revenue. However, the people that come and stay in your park are far more likely to spend some of their money in Alamance County than if they stay in the park in Orange County or Guilford County or somewhere other than Alamance. So for that, thank you very much. Now, can we recommend to the commissioners? You want to do your stuff first. Can we recommend to the commissioners that based on the amount of confusion that was going on in the county when this occurred, that it be acknowledged now as a grandfathered existing business? Can we do that?
We cannot do that because it was not grandfathered at the beginning before that ordinance was written. However, legal did take a look at this, and we're accepting phase 1 as is, but phase 2 is requested to be in compliance. Since he's not able to be in compliance, that puts us here. So that was the consensus from it.
So you might hear that they're going ahead and not grandfathered, but leave it alone.
Right.
I'm not so sure that it would benefit us to review that whole ordinance after a while, because I'm just not 100% convinced that RVs, travel trailers, motorhomes should be in the same category as a single wide or a double wide. I don't see it.
Or even a tiny home.
Exactly.
Well, we did a
Because
tiny
the
home.
Inference with a recreational vehicle is moving.
Exactly.
You got folks, and I'm sure you've heard this term, full timers, and they live in a travel trailer. But they move that travel trailer from south to north or north to south.
East
But
to
it's
west.
almost, no, it's north south. It's almost like they migrate. In the dead of the winter, they're in Alabama, Louisiana, down there, and they move north in the summertime.
Yeah.
Well, and that right there may be what.
Well, I feel like the general consensus is you have we're gonna say a group of our population, and it's nationwide now, that's gonna, take several months, they're gonna hook to their travel trailer, get in their RV, whatever, and they're gonna move around. Now, if they go down to Mr. Moore's RV park and they stop and set up camp for a few days or whatever, they subject to come into town, they subject to go to Tanger and buy a suit of clothes, they subject to go over here to town and have a nice dinner, they subject to go shopping. They are subject to spend money in this county. And on the flip side, and I found this out, Mr. Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, there are, I guess we're gonna call them temporary nurses or some construction workers that are coming to town. Their company, or we'll say the hospital, will set up a travel trailer for temporary housing while that person is here. And then when they're done, they pack up their toys and move somewhere else. So it is.
Have their own, and they.
Right, but it is a service that is being provided.
Yeah.
So it's not just as simple as somebody coming up with a blow-up swimming pool and a bicycle strapped to the back of their car.
The majority of the people that come to there are contractors, or they're working on other projects that are going on.
And they'd rather, I'm assuming, stay in a travel trailer in an RV park.
It's not Atlanta's vacation destination.
And, well, now, it's peaceful and quiet, but it's still better, it'd still be better to do that than it would be to go over here and get a Super 8 hotel room and get shot.
Those same people also come to my business and spend money.
So there's a benefit around, there's a benefit around.
Right, but I mean, it all triggers, it goes to what you're saying exactly. I mean, they're gonna spend money here while they're here. So what are we looking at right here? Is this what's there now?
That's the new,
That's the new
phase
part,
two.
the road coming down here.
The other one is number
leads you
one.
Oh, number one's already done.
Yeah,
Right,
number
number
one
two
was
is on
done.
the backside.
Okay.
Was that 2018, I believe, in the spring, maybe?
We opened it in April of 2019, so I started it in 18.
That's why I thought it was
Started
on
building it, yeah.
I just wasn't sure what I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
Mr. President?
Yeah. My take on it, I did go down there sometimes, and we rode around. A little excursion there through the expansion of the property, the existing property. Number one, it's campground. Mobile home park, not looking at people that would be putting up residents there and paying mobile home tax on their mobile home for an extended period of time. I think we talked about this. We were going through definitions with UDO about different giving people time in their travel. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That's temporary housing.
We were talking about temporary housing.
I understand. And that's probably more of a permanent basis. This is not. I mean, people come in there for a weekend, for a week, could be 6 months on a construction project. But this is definitely not permanent. And any campground average say that, yeah, it's cute, quaint, and smaller. Just tent around next to your camp, camper. That's what I'm saying, camper. I don't even tent, right?
Gotcha.
That kind of thing. The other thing is, this is an outstanding camper. I mean, I passed it 1,000 times, right? And it's a huge point and maintained. It's concealed. It's
I'm fine if it's, I mean, whether we can or cannot, officially, I'm gonna vote yes.
Well, I've been by there several times myself, and he does have some yard art sitting out there next to the driveway that I kind of take a liking to. So, I mean, he does have a nice setup down there. I might have to give props on that. Ms. Tanya, can we, in the next couple of months, take a look at that ordinance concerning the RVs and the mobile homes?
So I could put on next month's agenda, begin a discussion on what the planning board would like and throw it back to staff or subcommittee or whatever.
Right.
But tonight, we need to take some action on this hardship that the verbiage we have today is causing him today.
Well, so you don't have to take action. You've heard it tonight. You can table it, you can deny, you can
Well,
wait for more
okay,
information.
so
I'll make a motion to quit being aggravated. I second that motion.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Gene and Sands.
Well, even if they vote against it, they can't upset. All right, so now we got that out of the way. He's here because he wants to go ahead and start with his
Construction.
phase 2 expansion. So do we need to take some official action and recommend to the commissioners that they grant him this hardship waiver so he can get started with his work while we're massaging this other verbiage?
I get back to quit being aggravated.
So your vote you just took was approving him, if I understood that correctly.
That's what I understood.
So that's going to commissioners. It will be second meeting in September, and that's an evening meeting, a 7 p.m. meeting. It has to be,
In September.
yes,
So
so
we're-
it has to be advertised in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks and all of that. I will see if they will get it on the first meeting in September and get it with you. At latest, it would be the second, which is the third Monday of the month. I think they meet first and third. But at the very latest, it would be that the, yeah.
Yeah.
6th is Labor Day, so.
Maybe we meet the day after Labor Day.
We're gonna meet on the 7th.
So it's possible to make the 7th, depends on what we can get on the agenda and what the newspaper can let me get in. There's a legal requirement to do that advertisement, so we
But
can.
we are talking about next month, not August. Because
Yeah,
I was
August
under
is
the
done.
impression that once I went through the planning board and everything was approved there, that it would be the very next commissioners meeting. And I may have just thought of that myself, but that's
So the
just,
next commissioner meeting is Monday night, so I can't meet that 2 consecutive weeks of advertising in the newspaper in order for your hearing to be there.
I'm gonna throw this in, and I'm gonna ask, is it possible to meet these requirements for advertising for 2 weeks in the newspaper and for you to make that first meeting in September?
So I don't get to set that agenda, nor does Sherry. If we can ask, Mr. Paisley, what day will be here tonight, we can ask him here. We can ask, he's the one that would set the agenda.
Okay.
That's what we would shoot for, yeah.
I think that's a good idea. In the meantime, let's discuss this thing about reviewing that RV and mobile home park ordinance, because it really does need to be looked at and reviewed by us, because RVs and mobile homes are 2 completely different animals.
If we have already done all we can do for Mr. Owens tonight,
Yes, I understand it.
we need to thank him for coming and not put him through the nauseating task of listening to this.
That's
If he
exactly
wants
right.
to go, he needs to be allowed to do it.
Well, I mean, he's free to go at will.
Well, you need to let
no,
him know
no,
that.
no,
Don't leave him standing. You can
If we
excuse
do
him.
end up putting you on that first September meeting, you would need to be there, and that's a 9:30 a.m. meeting.
I can be
That's
whenever,
not a problem.
whenever you tell.
Plus, once life comes back at 8 o'clock in the morning, we can touch base with the ones and make those decisions.
All you've got to do is tell me where to be and what time to be there.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know as soon as I find out then.
I thank all of y'all for listening to me.
Good luck, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So now that right there handled, that brings us to old business, planning board membership attendance.
Well, before you go there, go ahead and finish what I interrupted you on with this revisiting the.
Ms. Tanya, can we get that on the agenda for our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Fair enough. Now, that being said,
Yeah.
now let's discuss planning board membership attendance.
Talk away.
I'm waiting on you because, Ms.
Well, let me
Tanya,
just help you.
jump in there.
You all have an Excel spreadsheet in front of you that's kept up with several years of planning board attendance. We always evaluate this a few times a year. So you have it up to date as of last month's meeting. You'll see Miss Ellington, Blake Cobb, and Rodney. I don't know why that thing is doing that. You'll see dashes on people, and those dashes just mean they were not sitting on the board at the time, so there's no attendance requirement. If that looks different, y'all, that's why. The one means that they were present for the meeting, whether it be by Zoom or in person, that's counted as present. The 0 means not attending. And NA on some of those is just where we did not have a meeting.
And David Spruill is still on medical.
He is, he's still a government.
I think we've had a discussion before. If you're medically incapacitated, that should be excused coming out the gate. Because I expect the truth to be told, he'd much rather be sitting over here with us than.
Being sick or hurt.
No doubt.
You know, the situation, he's been hurt for a while now. How's he, you know anything about it?
I haven't heard from him this month. He was, when we talked to him last time, he was not able to even do that.
When we call on attendance, what are we supposed to say when he's talking about?
We discussed it for now.
What is the requirement? I mean, what are we required to do about absences or being absent? With other boards I'm on, we have a policy about how many you can miss, excused and unexcused. And
I guess
Because
because
policy here, it's just been real
thing.
lax.
So your planning board ordinance says if you miss more than 2 consecutive meetings, you're subject to being recommended for removal from the board. Commissioners make final decision or make a recommendation. Now, the chair has the right to decide if it's an excusable absence or not.
Well, based on conversations myself and Tanya had not too long ago, especially since COVID took over like it did last year. Even if you can't meet in person now, you still have capabilities for Zoom attendance. So how long has it been since we've had a meeting that we actually didn't get to have because of a quorum issue?
I think, gosh, it was last year before COVID happened.
I know we had 2 in a row in 19.
Yeah, 19 summer
We got
was
a whole
wrong.
bunch of backlash from it. Because of it.
We
You
did.
can look back at 9, I don't know if y'all can see 19. 19 had meetings of 8 and 9 people, so we didn't have enough to do what we needed to do. And 7s.
I think it was early summer of last year that we had to postpone. I think it was the tiny home development and we called another meeting.
I remember that.
So you can see our numbers look pretty weak. I mean, we have 13 seats. At one point, we were missing 2 people for, gosh, 4 or 5 months. We were missing 2 people waiting on the commissioners to make some decisions for us. And that was towards the end of last year into the beginning of this year. So our board technically was down to 11 people total. And so we had one night, October was like 7 members, then 9 members. So even at 11, we were pushing a pretty good number at 9. Only have 11 seated members. But then there's a couple times when April and May of this year, we've gone down to 8 and 7 again, and we were a 13-member board.
I would be satisfied if you missed 2, maybe 3 meetings in a row, especially with the Zoom capabilities. If you miss those meetings,
I think we're missing a point here. If you can't be at a meeting, it's too easy to pick the phone up and call somebody and say, Taylor, I'm sorry, my mom's been in a car wreck, I'm going to the hospital, I can't come to me. If you agree to serve on the board, there needs to be some commitment involved with that. And if you can't meet that commitment, that's not a problem. But if you can't let somebody know, that is. Now, that's my take on it. But we had a member, I don't think we need to rehash this, but we spent years reaching out in mail, email, calling and leaving messages. We got a meeting coming up, are you gonna be there? And couldn't get a response at all. Couldn't get an answer at the door. That is just unacceptable. If something comes up, you can't be there, it happens. It's called life. We get it. But just let somebody know. Am I saying this wrong?
No, I think there's a pile of people in here won't be on this call.
Yeah. And that ain't the first time that that's happened. And we've had piles of people come in here, oh yeah, I got to be on this board, put them on there, come to one meeting. 3 years later, when the term expires, I ain't seen them but twice when they come in here and one meeting. Stop me when I start lying.
No, you're not telling a story. I remember that myself.
Yeah. And of course, they're taking up a spot. And every one of them seats is being filled by somebody who won't come to the meeting. That's the problem. I don't have a problem with somebody not coming to the meeting. I got a problem with somebody that won't let you know
that they're not coming to the meeting.
So as you all know, there's a lot on planning's agendas for the next short term. We've got some zoning things going on. We're also going to revisit the home park ordinance. We're touching up ordinances regularly. The concern is when we convene a meeting, we need to have enough people here to do something about the business before the board. It impacts the county's ability to do business as well. And I think that's why the ordinance is written the way it was, to try to make sure the county can get their business.
Well, it comes back to we have a strong responsibility. Not only are we here representing people of this county, we have a responsibility as commissioners to assist them in the manner what they asked us to do in the first place.
To the point that lets.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But you know, the thing of it is just
we need to
we just need to be here to do our job so they can do their job better. That's all.
Yep.
So, what's your pleasure, guys? What's your pleasure, folks?
What's the policy? 2 consecutive absences are subject to be dismissed.
Ray, you know, I'm guilty of missing the last 2 meetings that I called.
You did. Mr. Hall did call. He did call. Matter of fact,
and both times I was at the beach, my beach house, and I don't have internet down. I don't want it down. No, I'm fixing my King Michael tournaments, I froze circuit, and last 2 meetings, that's where I've been.
Well, I think communication.
I called Ray.
He did. He has. He calls me. If he's not going to be able to,
He ain't the one I'm talking about.
I fully understand. But I guess, and I'm with you. I mean, communication is key.
Right.
We need communication. We do. All right. On the flip side, even if you can't be here in person, there's still Zoom possibilities. Sending calls, and I spoke to Tanya about this earlier. You know, we could have been in the commission room tonight. Well, she cannot do the Zoom meeting there. I'm assuming due to internet issues, whatever. I'm not going to get into it that deep. But we're having our meetings here. Zoom is a possibility to attend. You know, we need to put up every effort possible to be here. So if it's back to our policy is if you miss two meetings unexcused, zero communication, then something needs to be done about it.
Okay, so are you wanting to know what we want to, you want us to make a recommendation? Then proceed with this?
Well, so the chair asked me to put it on the agenda. Whatever recommendations y'all make, it does finalize at the board of commissioners.
Okay, so do you want us to make a recommendation as to how we need to proceed with this?
Yes, sir.
I move that if a board member misses 2 consecutive meetings, without notifying the chair or the planning department, their name comes up on next meeting's agenda for discussion. And that's a motion.
We
When we
can't
get to
take that
discussion.
motion. What we can do is make a motion, if y'all want to change how the bylaws are written, we can bring that to the board to change it to that next month. But that's actually changing the planning board ordinance, which or bylaws, and which one to do. And some of that ends up with commissioners, but that would be open.
I'm going to rescind that motion.
Tonight would be
Bylaws
a-
actually say on this topic, what's the actual verbiage?
It's a, when you miss 2 meetings, consecutive meetings, and the board or the chair has not given you an excused absence, you are subject to being recommended to be dismissed from the board.
Okay, well-
Communication.
Communication is the key. So with that being said, can Ms. Taylor just send out a letter to everybody to send a letter in the mailbox, the big blue box, at the post office, just stick it in there. If you're sitting on this planning board, you're gonna get a letter in the mail. Stating just such, if you miss 2 consecutive meetings without at least as much as a phone call, then you're in threat of being asked to step down. That's just a reminder. And we just need to stay on top of it. I mean, I hate to say it because I know you girls are busy, but if we get this spreadsheet today, we can get this spreadsheet every so often, just to take a look, see who's making it, who ain't.
So it was about 3 months ago that y'all saw this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think about it, and I ain't trying to put more on your plate, I promise you I'm not. But at least every couple of meetings, we ought to be able to look at and see, okay, that way we can say, well, what's going on? Well, David Spruill's had an accident, he's unable to attend due to medical reasons. How's he doing? Does he need anything? Because I looked on here myself, and I mean, I'm not gonna be the pot calling the other black, but I looked right here my own self. The first part of 2019, my attendance was mighty shaky itself. Matter of fact, I didn't make it till June. But with that being said, it's kind of hard for me to get out of the hospital bed after a stroke, rotator cuff surgery to come hang out with you folks.
So y'all did determine the year before last, in October, we will evaluate whose terms are up and who needs to re-up. So that would be probably the next time we revisit this, since it's already August.
Sure.
We do have Mr. Isley will be terminating out this year. He will have to sit off the board for a year before he can come back on. We have a couple others that their term will be up, but they're not terminating out.
Okay, fully noted, but at the same time, it wouldn't be against the rules for Lee to come by and visit with us once in a while, just kind of sort of weigh in on some stuff. That ain't against the rules, is it?
So, no,
I
so
did,
we can
'cause I did it.
evaluate that in October along with it.
Okay.
I will tell you that, about the last meeting I had, and I sent an email saying I will be attending. And when I was on my way here, my mother had a heart attack, so I didn't even think about calling anybody. I mean, that was the last thing that came to my mind.
Fully understand.
And I felt bad because I actually said I will be there. And,
That's the way it always works.
I don't mean it ugly, but I feel your pain. You don't know how bad I'd like to miss a few meetings just to be able to go see my mom and dad. I'm with you there. I understand. I understand. The biggest thing we need in order for us to function. And I fully understand that right there. I do. And I do remember in the early parts of 2019, I remember being strapped to a gurney getting ready to be put up in the back of the ambulance. And I looked at that little girl and I said, can you call over to the planning department and let them know I ain't gonna make it?
I'm not sure she made it up, but that's.
Well, he notified some.
He did.
Well, you know, the thing is, that Rod, I remember because, I mean, he's been here forever. I mean, he just about to tell you about the glue that he put the stuff on there. But there's been times that there have been members that have been needed to be at home self-medicating with the good stuff, as opposed, we've been there. It's happened. So the biggest thing I'm saying is we need some communication. We just need it. You know, you got Miss Tanya, you got little Miss Taylor over here. You know, my cell number's out there. Just drop me a call. Mr. Hall does it on the frequent. He can make a call me anytime he wants to. It don't make a difference.
Right, I want to thank him for calling me, because it helps a lot. And I'm on the job a lot of times myself on my end. You know, I'm the state, I'm the chairman of the state, and I'm supposed to lodge the phone in Raleigh, and I just got a lot going on, it helps to call.
You know, then they're looking at it.
And I want to thank Taylor for calling too.
You got it.
We'll put this on the agenda for a final discussion next month. Okay, just see the numbers.
For the attendance?
Just
Okay,
get
good.
bylaws and everything.
Okay, is that pretty much sum everything up on the attendance issue? Before we go any further, we've got Eric McPherson and Vaughn Willoughby is working on the subcommittee for the small area use plan. Could you guys at least give us an update? I know you've had on one meeting, but I think some of us would at least like to know what's going on.
Well, we had a meeting. There was a lot of discussion about with the planners, with the Stewart group, that how we're gonna put all these pieces together, about how we'll define uses, what things would be allowed under certain zoning areas. In other words, there's agricultural district, there's a rural residential district, there's a rural commercial district. I'm trying to remember, there seems like there's one more.
Industrial. Industrial.
Yeah, industrial. So, you know, certain things are gonna be allowed, certain things would not be allowed. We talked a lot about, they asked the question, had any of us ever had any involvement with zoning? We had in our lifetime, have we ever had any instance where zoning was an impact or impacted us, or if we had any experience with it? Some did, some did not. But I think we have a good group. We have people that are from Smackhammer. We have people from pretty much all phases of. We have a manufacturing person there that certainly dealing with placement of homes in rural locations. So there's that. You know, I'm sitting there talking about agricultural representation. We've got. I think we got a good broad base of people there. It's going to be a process, but it's going to go fast because we don't have a lot of time, as was outlined. There are certain hurdles we've got to meet, certain deadlines we've got to get to get it done within the.
So if you said, we're looking to bring it to you in November. That's how fast we're going.
Okay, so you was in this last meeting and there's another one supposed to be going on around the end of this month.
I think there is one that has not been scheduled. It's not been this, I think it's been in September.
Okay, well, that's fine.
So y'all didn't set a calendar.
Yes, we did. They had, and I don't have it, it's in a different, it's not in this book, but it's okay. But yeah, there's certain, we meet again in the office, in September.
If you're gonna have 3 more meetings and it's gonna get presented to us in November, it needs to be some get up and go.
So there's some Cleveland in September, we do some public outreach and some in-person meetings in October. And then they're gonna meet again, and then there'll be another time we get kind of a final draft ready to bring you.
The one thing that is good, there will be a lot of public input about.
We set that kind of a contract up on purpose that they did with this board and the commissioners a couple times, not just one. And then the outreach to the public was an extra, I think they were gonna do 2 meetings, and I think I set up 3, but we put extra stuff, extra postcards, like for a website and to reach out electronically through surveys that worked really well for the land development plan. So we put some extra stuff in there on their contract to be more like what we do with the land development plan and make sure we're reaching people in any way we can. So that's just a matter of getting a little further along in the draft, and then we can reach out to the public.
What happens in November once it's used, the county commissioners at that point, or what's the process?
Yeah, and that will, it'll drop into the UDO. We've left a section open just for that.
Okay.
The subcommittee, meetings open to other than our subcommittee?
It's not shut, it's not open to comment, but it's not a public meeting, but it's never been kind of out there as shut down. I put it on the website before we met, just in case anybody wanted to know about it, but that part of the website will get beefed up as we put more information out. I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
I think the understanding that I have is it's okay to sit in and observe, but as far as jumping in with any type of dialect or discussion would kind of sort of be counterproductive as what these folks are trying to do. So if, I'm assuming if someone wanted to sit in and chair it, just listen and things of that nature, me personally, I think would be okay. But based on what I've been told, the makeup of that subcommittee is pretty strong. Everybody is pretty much represented.
Yeah, we try for diversity. We've got some representation from the Snow Camp area, from people on both sides of different options for zoning. We've got people that do business down there. It would be impacted. Try to balance it out. And then we've got two members from the planning board on.
Now, Mr. Willard was just talking about the representative from the manufactured housing community. I know exactly who he was talking about. This is not a because I know you work with zoning in the Rockland County. But I expect it to be hard pressed to find anybody inside this county, whether it be an employee or a resident, who knows more about zoning in this county.
What's interesting about his experience is he's worked with multiple jurisdictions across lots of different counties that have them, our county is not right now. So he talked a lot about interpretation. He talked about how one person interprets the rule this way.
Somebody else.
Somebody else.
Just like what you showed me in the solar farm ordinance tonight about one ownership by a single person or by property owner or corporation for the solar farm.
Right.
So one person, you read that as it should be one owner on these properties. All of them should be one. As legal interpreted, it is one owner because they've leased that land, the whole corporation, so they technically have control of that property under one corporation. So yes.
But anyway, that was one of his observations was sometimes what one person thinks is okay or is acceptable, and then that person leaves. They get a new zoning enforcement officer, or whatever, and then they can say, "Oh, no, that's not how that is at all." And so then there's dialogue, and then it's like, they normally get it worked out, but he said there's, those kinds of things.
Is Mr. Geo Harrison with Oakwood Homes?
It's Tion Harrison.
Yes.
I've known the man for a long time, and he's been all over the state. I know there's jobs he's done, as far away as Roanoke Rapids, and as far west as Statesville. So he covers a broad area and deals with planning in a lot of counties as well as other municipalities, zoning, all kinds of stuff. So he brings a very strong wealth of knowledge. Subcommittee concerns on.
It's going good. I think it's going to be fine.
Well, that's what we heard from land development plan to start creating. That's what we heard from commissioners, from y'all, and from the public. So this is an attempt to make it the community's ordinance. We're just the ones physically putting words on paper, but we're trying to listen to everything that's been said. Can't make everybody happy, but we're going to try to make the community as a whole happy.
All right. Is everybody good? Motion?
I move we adjourn.
Have a good evening.